Welcome to this week's piece. So this is a huge executive's desk. It is a business model. They were mass produced for businesses and things. This has a really cool, the center drawer, when it's pushed all the way in, all of the side drawers are locked, and when you pull it out just a little bit, it releases the locking mechanism on all of the side drawers. So it has like really cool features in it. It is, however, horribly damaged. A lot of it is just the finish, like the scratches in the drawers and everything. I've got an easy fix for those later. But the top is just annihilated. I mean, it's so bad. And it looks bad here. I was going to give it a good clean and see if I could save any of it. At this point, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I really didn't think I could keep the top. And usually on desks, I really want to keep a wood surface. I don't love painting the tops of desks, but my stepdad had this brilliant idea on this one. So I think that was kind of where I was headed at with this. But I wanted to check and see. You can see I'm not a huge spray things with water type person, but this guy needed it so bad. It was so bad. Also, it's out in the sunshine, so it dried really easily. So once I got it all cleaned, I realized, there was just no saving this top. I'm like, man, this is going to take forever. I didn't bring my heat gun with me. I just was like, do I want to like iron steam towel this thing outside? And I'm like, no. So I just tried using the little scraper there, and you guys, this top, peeling off all of this veneer, took me under 20 minutes. I was just blown away. So I'm like, whoa, this went a lot faster than I was expecting. So that went well. I didn't think it was going to, but under 20 minutes for that entire top. And that thing is huge. So I think it obviously helped to have it out in the sunshine where the sun was warming it. And obviously it had that bath earlier. that clearly helped. But usually taking veneer is such a huge pain. This was not. Now, sometimes you can get lucky when you remove the veneer off and have a decent wood underneath. This was poplar. I actually don't hate poplar. I think it's a really cool, I love the coloring of it. But because the drawer fronts on this were this really, really gorgeous walnut veneer, I just decided to go ahead and paint the top of this. So that's what I ended up doing. Obviously, this needed a good sand when we were finished, and there were still you could see quite a few stains leaked all the way through the veneer onto that poplar there. But it's not too shabby. It'll give me a decent surface to work on. You'll see a few little mars and everything that I'll get filled in later, but not too bad. So we're going to give the entire piece scuff sand essentially just to smooth it out and give me a good working surface for paint. I've enlisted the help of my littlest sister, so she's helping me out there with the legs and some of the drawers. I think she could probably refinish furniture now. She helped me out a lot. I did fill the top with some Durham's putty. You guys know I use that quite frequently. It's just really easy to work with. You can do it to any consistency you like, and it works great. So I got that on there, got that all sanded out. I was doing the drawers. The drawers turned out so pretty, so I couldn't obviously cover those with paint because I just thought the walnut veneer was too lovely. But these were the inside of the drawers. So I've got my Chalk Mountain scratch remover, and that's what that stuff does. It is magical. I love it so much. They have a hard wax version and then also this oil version. Oh man. So instead of sanding out all the drawers like that, I just used that stuff, and it was brilliant. So here, I opted to use their dark oil wood stain because the drawer fronts aren't going to get a lot of wear and tear. I'm not going to have to seal these. These are fully sealed once I put on the dark walnut stain. That's it. That's all. And it's walnut veneer. I just thought it would be a good way to go with these, and I'm so pleased with them. Does anybody else think those look like Rorschach patterns? Anytime I see like the book match cuts, I'm just like, oh yeah, it looks like Rorschach. And so these are the writing boards that get pulled out to give you extra writing surface. I did the same dark brown. It's the walnut stain. And then the top, since I'm going to paint over it, I don't want anything coming through and I want to give myself a smooth surface. So I'm taking the Chalk Mountain Satin Poly, doing a coat over all of that just to give me a smooth base. And then I will take Pebble Beach, and that will be my base color for the entire thing. Now this was really, really hard for me because it was such a large surface to work on. And also, I was working outside in the heat, which is, I mean, it's a terrible idea. The whole thing was just a terrible idea in the way that I was working on it. But this desk was so huge that I was just kind of doing what I could with it. I obviously didn't have all my supplies with me, so I ran to Walmart, got those spatulas and the fan brushes, the little pack of them, just so that I had some smaller brushes to work with, and you know you need spatulas to do the mountains and everything. So I tried to keep this as wet as I could, but I actually did have to work in stages, which was a little difficult, but also taught me a lot. And you guys know that I'm kind of just bringing you along on this process as I'm learning how to paint scenes on furniture. So it's really fun to learn and challenge myself and try and figure out the best way to do things. So if I were to do this again, I would do things slightly different, but I did learn a lot in the process of this, and I think that's invaluable. So as I'm going along, and I know a lot of you say like, oh, you're so hard on yourself when you do these. It's not that I'm being hard on myself, it's that I'm learning and I'm trying to figure out how to do the things that I'm doing because I don't know, because a lot of it I've never done before. And it's like, okay, well, I know that I can do it better next time. So while this one isn't where I want it to be, it's not that I'm like, oh, this was terrible, I'm a terrible person. It's just that, oh, this is great. It's not great, but I can fix it later. Like, I can do this better next time. I hope that makes sense. I know that it's weird hearing someone say, oh, it's not my best work, but I mean, it's not my best work. And I hope that as we're going, we all realize like, this isn't our best work. Our best work is to come. We're going to just get better and better and evolve. So that's just what I mean by that. But so those mountains were really, really hard because I didn't have, the paint wouldn't stay wet enough for me to do it. And you kind of have to have an in-between paint for the mountains because you want skipping on it, but you don't want a ton of blending. It was just back and forth of doing this. And then even the reflection on the trees and the water there, that was more of a watercolor reflection versus the kind of wet paint reflection. And I actually liked the way that that looked, so that was interesting. This whole thing was very interesting to me. And the trees, I actually did like a 3-part color instead of just the 2-part, how you do the base color and then add highlights. I added the base color and then I did a mid-tone and then I also added highlights to it. And I really liked the way that that looked. And I just kind of went back and forth in deciding how I wanted it to look, because I really just was, this is a wing and a prayer here. I'm just working on things. And you'll see this section here, I go back over multiple times trying to figure out how I want the like land to move and work with me. So again, it was all just learning and me trying to figure out how to make this look good with the limited paints that I brought, with the limited supplies that I had, and just kind of making it happen with what I had. Speaking of things I didn't have, I did not have my Bob Ross brush, the little 2-inch one that I use all the time. My parents had this messed up, just old brush lying around, and this thing worked so well. I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, if you have a raggedy old brush, sometimes they work better than like any of the other, because I still have my very smooth bristled brushes, but I needed one that was kind of that messy end. Oh man, that thing saved my life. That ratty old brush. This was my stepdad's idea. So he's like, you should do one of your scenes on here and then take just a sheet of glass or something and put over the top so it's protected. Because that's my biggest issue with desks and stuff, because I know that they get used so much that I don't want them to have too many scratches in the paint and things like that. And so I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Well, when I was looking at pricing on things like that, it's hundreds of dollars. And obviously we don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on something that we're trying to make a profit on. Mind you, I'm not making a profit on this desk. This desk is actually going to my stepdad. So that's awesome. But while I'm doing all this stuff, I want to know that I can share with you like ideas and things like that. So I found this on Amazon. It's a protective top specifically for desks, computer tops, tables, things like that. And you roll it out and then you can cut it to the size that you need. And it's cool. So the only downside that I found to it is that it has like that weird reflection. So you'd never get like a good reflection like with a sheet of glass, obviously. But now I don't have to worry about breaking a sheet of glass. So there is that reflection issue. But aside from that, this thing was awesome and a brilliant idea and much, much less expensive. It was, when you're cutting it, I used a blade. You want to go in long, smooth cuts. The minute you stop a long, smooth cut, you'll get a little like jagged edge in there, and that was kind of a pain. So the rest of the piece, I'm just going to speed through because I'm just doing the Relic green color. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. And then, you guys, I know I'm going to use some tape. I'm going to use quite a bit of tape, but I needed it. I felt like the desk sides were just too large to not have something done to it. So you'll see where we're going with it. I sealed the full bottom of this, the base of the desk, all in the hemp oil, just because that wood really needed some nourishment, obviously. You can see a huge difference once you get that on there. It's like, oh, the poor wood just needed a drink. So I did that. The top was sealed in several coats of Satin Poly. Even though it was getting the protective cover on top, I just wanted to make sure that it had some extra coverage.
Oh hi, Taryn here with Elegant Upgrades, and we've got our finished piece. So this was a beast. I can't even stage it because it is too huge. I'm actually waiting for my brothers to get here to hopefully help me move it, because it was a struggle. That's why it's not in the shop. It's just, it was right in my parents' breezeway, being protected from the elements, and so I just brought it right out the door to work on it. And the shop is over around the corner, so I didn't want to get it all the way over there. So I worked on it right here. That was probably a terrible idea just because there's all kinds of creatures in the air here. So painting this, I was constantly dusting it off and getting eaten by mosquitoes and all the things that happens when you're in the mountains. But it's fun, it's finished. It's good considering I didn't have all my paint colors, so I just kind of did what I could with the stuff that I brought, which you guys know I'm pro. You just do what you can with what you have, and that's what I did, and I kind of like it. I think it's beautiful. My stepdad, who got this desk, this will be for him. He said listed on Etsy, but until then. So he had this great idea because they couldn't figure out exactly what to do with it because it's so huge. He's like, oh, you should do one of your paintings on it and then put a sheet over the top, like a glass sheet or fiberglass sheet. And I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea, except for that's really expensive. So I did a little research and I found this roll, which is in fact a desk or tabletop protector on Amazon. And it's kind of great because it's floppy, it won't scratch like fiberglass would, and it's not heavy. So it's kind of perfect in that, and then it can roll up. Mind you, the top has still been sealed multiple times in clear coat. But I still have this just because, you know, paint on top isn't ever as durable as doing tons and tons of coats of poly on just, I think this is a good substitution, and I highly recommend it. It was really easy to cut out. I did have some issues in certain spots. If I couldn't get a long stroke on it, I'd see a little jaggedness, so I have to go back and fix it with scissors just because I want a clean edge. But yeah, I think this is a great alternative and a good option for people who want to protect their stuff but not pay $200 for a sheet for on top. Anyways, we loved the wood fronts on these, so we kept them. You couldn't tell how beautiful they were until after they were sanded back, so I'm glad we did that. I think, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to take these off and paint them black. I feel like black would be a better option for that. And then these little writing boards here, they have teeny tiny holes for where you would put one of the little screw-in knobs. So I have to order some of those. But as I mentioned in another video, since I've been down here, Amazon doesn't deliver like that, like it does when I'm in Portland. So I was like, oh, I'll just order them and ship them down and get them to him. So it's a cool desk. It'll be around for a lot longer. The sides are cool. I tried to kind of mimic the whole, since this has a mountainscape on it, you know, do mountains in the tape. So that's kind of where the pattern came from, because I'm like, I don't want to do stripes. I can't do plain. It needs something. So that was kind of what happened from that. And then, of course, the green. My stepdad said that he wanted it green originally, and I was like, ooh, I might end up doing black, but then the black would have been too dark. So yeah, green turned out really, really well with this. Like I said, this is a lot lighter than what I would have done for his desk had I had all my colors, but I still think it's very beautiful. Very spring instead of, say, summer or something like that. So anyways, I hope you guys like this. I know that's a long explanation. I think I'll be home next video when you guys see me next, so I'll be able to quick respond to you. Just thank you all so much for sticking around and letting me kind of play out in the wilderness and get to do wood things and all that. So yeah, I've like made cutting boards here and just gotta play with that planer and everything. That's been so awesome, the planer that they sent me, and just play with other things in the shop. It's nice to work somewhere else sometimes, and it's beautiful here. Hot, but not nearly as hot as if I were down in the valley, so that's been wonderful as well. Okay, again, just rambling. Thank you guys so much. I will see you next week.